Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Combat Patrol. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so Games Workshop recently announced that the new White Dwarf is going to have a brand new Tyranid Combat Patrol in it. We previously saw new rules for a Space Marine Combat Patrol, and now we're getting the Insidious Infiltrators for Tyranids. So we don't have the full rules yet. We only have a preview from Games Workshop, but we can see what's inside and we can take a look at the current data sheets and get an idea as to what to expect. I'll give you guys my input as to what I think about it, talk a little bit about the price of it if you wanted to pick up all these models, and just overall the idea of having these White Dwarf supplement combat patrols. So if you do pick up White Dwarf, individual copies are $11 a piece. If you have a subscription, it comes out to like $100, so it's about $7.50 per issue. Now, obviously, every White Dwarf is going to be different, so they're going to have various things inside that are going to be more or less appealing to everyone. But this one is pretty cool because not only does it come with all the actual rules for the Insidious Infiltrators, but it has the data sheets and the cards and everything as well. So you're going to get like some actual like cardboard stuff that would be similar to like the equivalents of what you would get with like the data card set for the existing Combat Patrol. So I always like when they put actual like good supplemental materials inside of them, so that's pretty cool. So that being said, let's take a look at what the actual Combat Patrol is composed of, and we'll take a look at the existing rules. Obviously, the Combat Patrol data sheets are kind of like toned down a little bit, so they're not going to have as many cool rules. We don't know exactly what they're going to be yet, and this doesn't come out until February 16th, so we still got a few days before anybody will have this. Alright, so it starts off with Death's Shadow, and that is the leader of the Combat Patrol, and that is our Neuro Lior, and then we have one Lior model. And then we have 3 sets of 3 Von Ryan Leapers. So right off the bat, I think the most obvious thing is it's only 11 models, which isn't tiny, but considering that the Tyranids don't have the best armor saves, they don't tend to be the most durable units, only having 11 models could definitely be an issue. Now, with the Insidious Infiltrators, though, we know that these guys are stealthy. They're going to have infiltration abilities and lots of other stuff to stop your opponent from being able to like fully assault them or like target them with attacks at any given time. But it is worth noting that the Combat Patrol board is only 44 by 30. And the way the objectives are kind of like centered around the middle of the board, it's not going to be as powerful to isolate like certain units or to like stay off to one side as it would be on like a larger game board. So that being said, 11 models, they are stealthy, definitely going to have some cool rules. I'm sure they're going to have some cool objectives and it's going to be fun to play. But I don't know like how competitive it's going to be relative to other Combat Patrols. Like for instance, something like the Dark Angels Combat Patrol, which currently has a Redemptor Dreadnought in it, even if we know it's about to change, the existing Combat Patrol may still stay. And it's going to be very difficult to take out a Redemptor Dreadnought with an army like this. Now, I always like to compare everything to like the baseline, which is the Space Marine Combat Patrol. And that one is composed of 5 regular Terminators, a Terminator Librarian, a Terminator Captain, and 5 Infernus Marines. So again, we have a Combat Patrol, that one with 12 models, but 5 of them are Terminators and then 2 are Terminator characters. And we'll look at like the AP and everything and some of the abilities of the current data sheets in 40K. And we assume that they're going to be toned down from that. So you may find that they're going to have some serious difficulty taking out like high AP targets. And then also they're going to be vulnerable to things like flame weapons, which of course is what all the Infernus Marines have. So let's take a look at some of the existing data sheets and get an idea as to what to expect. Alright, so right off the bat we have the Neuro Lior. Now this is going to be the character who leads the Combat Patrol. So likely going to have at least one of the objectives tied to him and then also have some cool special abilities. Movement 8, Toughness 5, Save is 4+ with a 4-up invulnerable, 7 wounds, 7+ leadership, and OC 1. And then the Piercing Claws are Precision, Melee, Attack 6, 2s to hit, Strength 6, -2 AP, and 1 damage. And then again, we don't know exactly what abilities they're going to have. Typically, they're toned down, but we have Infiltration, Lone Operative, and Stealth. And then faction rules, we have Shadow in the Warp and Synapse. And then we have the Feeder Tendrils, which is every time it destroys an enemy character, you're going to gain 1 command point. Neural Disruption, in your command phase, select 1 enemy unit within 12. That unit must make a Battle Shock test. And then Psychological Saboteur, Aura, while an enemy unit is within 12 of this model, if that unit is Battle Shocked. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Each time friendly Tyranid model makes an attack that targets that unit, add 1 to the wound roll. So overall, not bad. Pretty good data sheet. Gonna put Terminators on their invulnerable save. Gonna wound them on 3s and hit them on 2s. So realistically, with 6 attacks, you're probably gonna get 5 hits. Probably going to get on average 3 wounds. Terminators are going to save probably 1 or 2 of those. So you're going to do on average 1 to 2 damage to one of those Terminators. And if they're striking back with those power fists, you're probably going to take quite a bit of damage in return, although you do have an invulnerable save. So not bad. Definitely going to be able to slay most targets fairly easily, but with only damage 1 could be an issue. So we'll have to see what other abilities and like special equipment, etc. that he gets. But the damage 1 is definitely going to be the weak point. All right, so next we have the Lictor. This is going to be basically like your lieutenant. Movement 8, toughness 6, save 4 up, no invulnerable save. Wounds 6, leadership 7, OC 1. So Lictor claws and talons, precision, attack 6, weapon skill 2, strength 7, minus 2 AP, 2 damage. So we see a big difference obviously with the second point of damage. And then we have fights first, infiltrators, lone operative, and stealth, synapse. And then feeder tendrils. Each time you kill an enemy character, you gain a command point. Pheromone trail. Once per battle round, you can target a model with this ability with a rapid ingress stratagem for 0 command points. So this guy's going to be your damage dealer in the army. Again, we have a lot of cool abilities. We don't know what's going to be toned down. But without the invulnerable save, the durability is not going to be as great. But if you pop up in the right position with the fights first ability and the potential of being able to use rapid ingress, we don't know if that's still going to be the case. But you could definitely see this guy popping up out of view and then on your next turn being able to get into combat pretty easily. All right, and then finishing up the combat patrol, we're going to have 9 Von Ryan's Leapers, 3 squads of 3. So they're move 10, toughness 5. They have 4 up save with a 6 up invulnerable. They're 3 wounds apiece, leadership 8. OC 1. And their talons are attack 6, weapon skill 3, strength 5, AP 1, damage 1. And they have fights first, infiltrators, and stealth, faction synapse, keyword, and then pouncing leap. You can target this unit with heroic intervention stratagem for 0 command points, and can do so even if you have already used that stratagem on a different unit this phase. So pretty nice data sheet. 3 wounds apiece means the unit's going to have 9 wounds at toughness 5, 4 up, 6 up save. 6 attacks is going to give you 18 attacks between them, hitting on 3s. So against like Space Marines, you're going to get 12 hits on average. You're going to be wounding on 3s against the regular Marines, or 4s against the Terminators. So you're going to get somewhere around 6 wounds on the Terminators, 8 on the regular Marines, and at minus 1 AP, probably going to do about 4 damage to the Terminators. So essentially like kill 1 and wound another. Or you should be able to take down like 2 or 3 Infernus Marines, assuming that they don't get the Overwatch on you first with their flame weapons. So I think overall, this is a pretty nice combat patrol. They're going to be super stealthy. They're going to be very tactical. If you just try to go up against your opponent just head to head, you're probably not going to survive. If you use some cool and sneaky tactics, your infiltration, your stealth, all that cool stuff, and whatever cool abilities they get, I think this is going to be a really fun and really tactical combat patrol. You're not going to have the numbers like you do with the standard Tyranid combat patrol, but it's definitely going to feel cool coming from the shadows, a little bit more like an Aliens movie than like your typical Starship Troopers. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. So I think this is pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to the White Dwarf and the full rules. I love that they are putting in like the actual cardboard, like datasheet cards and everything. So it's really going to feel like you're getting a bunch out of this one issue. Now, what about the actual price to go out and buy this combat patrol? So you should be able to get a deal on Von Ryan's Leapers because they were in the Leviathan set, but they are $50 per 3. And if you need 3 units of them, that's $150 right off the bat. The Neuro Lior comes 1 to a box and he's $40. And then the new Lior comes 1 to a box and he's $50. So that's $240 in models. And unfortunately, it's not going to be like a typical Combat Patrol box set unless Games Workshop hits us with a surprise, which would be cool, but doesn't seem likely at this point. So it's definitely a bit on the pricey side. And then on top of that, you're going to need the White Dwarf or download the rules once they're out and about. So I'm sure they're going to be leaked and easily be able to get a hold of them. But you're looking at roughly like $250. Should be able to save about 15% on that buying those models from a online retailer like CMO to get a discount. So when it's all said and done, for about $200, you probably put this Combat Patrol on the table. It's maybe not going to be the most competitive. It should be fairly easy to paint. You're probably going to have some good matchups where you just absolutely decimate your opponent. You're probably going to have some matchups that are a little bit tougher where you don't stand a chance. But I think overall this is going to fit in nicely with the existing Combat Patrols. Gives you a little something different for the Tyranids. Because it's only 11 models, it's going to be a little easier to paint up, a little quicker to paint up than having to paint up like 20 plus gaunts, not to mention your other models. And overall, I think it's pretty cool. Now, until I actually put it on the table, get a chance to play it, it's tough to judge exactly how good it's going to be. But I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to overall be as competitive as your average combat patrol. I think this one's probably going to have a little bit more of a learning curve. So it's going to be a little more difficult to be good with it at first. But I think once you master it, it's going to have some pretty cool like tricks and everything that you're going to be able to use to your advantage. I think a really big deciding factor on this one also is going to be terrain. This combat patrol is going to do really well using cover and range, using strategy and positioning to your advantage. But I think it's going to be really cool and really fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I think it'll be fun to play, fun to paint. And I really like that Games Workshop is bringing out extra combat patrols, even if they are kind of paywall in the rules behind White Dwarf. The fact that they're giving us actual supplemental material and data sheets and everything for them in the White Dwarf makes it worth it, as opposed to just kind of putting the rules on a couple of pages, and that's the whole deal. So let me know what you think of the Insidious Infiltrators, if you're looking forward to the full rules, if you're thinking about potentially picking them up, and what you think about Games Workshop doing this with the White Dwarfs. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm looking forward to the Insidious Infiltrators. And I'm out of here.